This is Carrie Johnson with the Iowa Department of Management, and this is part 4 of a series of webinars to help familiarize county auditors and their staff with working in the Department of Management's valuation system to submit valuations annually. What this particular webinar is going to do, this particular session, is just give an overview on some of the tools within the application, errors checks, and other checks that you would make prior to filing your data with Department of Management. One of the things that you do need to do, assuming that you have any TIF occurring within your county, is that you need to be able to run a report that provides estimated TIF revenue for the TIF areas in your county. And in order to do that, you do need to make sure that the current year TIF rates are populated within the system. The system should populate the rates for you. If they're not appearing for any existing increment districts, you can click Populate Rates at the bottom of the screen. But you also do need to enter the TIF rate for any newly created TIF increment districts in the new valuation year and then select Save. So it's just one of those steps that you're going to have to take within the system before you finalize your data and file it with DOM. Make sure that the rates are populated and that you're able to calculate and present the report that provides the information to print that estimated TIF revenue report. So this is kind of what it looks like. TIF area revenue over on the left-hand navigation. It does show all of your increment districts within your county, and the system will pull for you the current year rates if we have them. If this is an existing TIF that exists in the current year, then it's going to populate the rate for you. And then it will also, if you've uploaded your value, it will populate the valuation as it exists within the system for each of those tax districts. And then if you have a situation, like I said, that you have added a new tax district within the system that didn't currently exist, then you would need to add a rate, calculate the rate for that new tax district, and hit Save. One of the other tools you need to make sure that you do is run your errors checks. It will show you at the top in red any errors that you have, and in yellow any warnings. Errors will prevent you from filing your data and making it final. Warnings are just sort of a, hey, is this really how you want it to look? Take another look at this, that sort of thing. Sort of a heads up sort of situation. So be sure that you run your errors check before you feel like you are final with your data, because as I mentioned, if you have errors, the system will not let you finalize and publish your data. So you've got to get those cleared up before you think you're done. And if you run your errors check and you have some errors and just aren't understanding what those could possibly be about, certainly contact me and we'll take a look at it and see if we can figure it out. Rollback Worksheet. What this tool does for you is it populates your 100% value from the database. It then lists the percentage of taxable, so the assessment limitation for each of the different classes. It does a calculation of, based on the 100%, what would we expect the taxable value to be in each of those classes. And it compares that with what your total taxable is from what you have uploaded in the system. The final column lists for you the produced differences over and under that amount. So how far are these off from each other? And it's going to, show in red anything that's over 1,000. But it's basically just to say, okay, if these numbers are large, what's going on here? Is there some sort of an error that's happening? Is something being reported incorrectly? It's sort of a heads up. Like there needs to be a little bit more thought or a little bit more effort looked into if these numbers are significantly different. We would expect them to be slightly different, but if you're into 4 digits, you might want to take a closer look at it. And again, if you have a situation where there's large numbers here and you're just not sure what that could be, certainly contact me and we'll see what we can do to look into it. With the rollback worksheet, you can open it, you can print it, you can download it. So if you want, to send it to someone to take a look at, you can certainly do that. You can download a PDF of it and ship it off to me and say, hey, take a look at this, that sort of thing. And in this situation, in this example, you can see our produced differences over under are really small, and that would be more like what we'd hope to see. What are some common errors that folks run into, or ones that I hear from year to year? If the rollback value differences are large, sometimes it's the placement of the multi-residential value, with multi-residential being a relatively new class of property, and maybe we're past that now, but there was some issues with the placement of multi-residential value early on, so that's something to look at if you're seeing large rollback differences in one of those classes. It could be TIF increment districts not assigned to TIF areas. That's a common error that we see with folks. They create the tax increment base and increment tax districts, but then they don't take the next step to go ahead and assign that increment district to its TIF area. So that's something to look at that creates an error sometime. It's not a problem. It's just like, hey, you forgot to do another step here. So it's a pretty easy one to fix. Another common error is city ag land being reported in non-city ag taxing districts, or value other than city ag land in city ag taxing districts. So keep in mind with your city ag districts, the only value that should be reported in there is ag land and ag buildings. There should be no other class of property reported. On the flip side, in a regular city taxing district, you should not be reporting any ag land or ag buildings. So if either of those are happening, that's a common error, and it's something that we need to get corrected. If you have any questions as you're doing your errors check or running your rollback worksheets, anything of that nature, please contact me. Thank you.